I've been dancing for 33 years, actually. Yeah, I was trained in all forms of dance, and then when I went to college in the early 2000s, I kind of reformed my training and became more of a ballet dancer. And then I stayed with Minnesota Dance Theater for about 10 seasons. And performed with them, and then when I had my first kid, I went back and did 2 more seasons, and then my second kid, I quit performing for now. Never say never, but I'm teaching. I have a chronic illness called fibromyalgia. So what this is a disorder of the muscles and connective tissue, and there's a whole slew of other ailments that come along with it. You know, it affects your sleep, your fatigue level, your concentration and memory. So basically, your whole body is in pain at all times. And it greatly affects, for instance, on me, my joints, the capability of warming up. You know, I wake up every morning, feel like I got hit by a truck. So that's my chronic illness.
You know, I probably danced at powwows before, but I got a jingle dress when Angelina was a baby and brought her in Shaka Peace powwow. She was the smallest dancer, and you have to have a sister or a friend to go in with you, and she didn't have one, so I had to go in with her. And we were the last, because she's the tiniest dancer, she's the last one in. And we were in there dancing, and it's just, it's like you don't even have to dance. It's like the ground is moving. I have fibromyalgia, and the symptoms are, I live in almost constant pain, and I have a really good poker face because of it, because you can't walk around letting people see that in your face, because people wouldn't want to be around you anymore. You can't complain about it all the time. It's pain that moves everywhere in my body. I mean, it could be my jaw, it could be my knee, it could be in my back, and there's other things that go along with it. You get fibro fog, fatigue, IBS. There's just a list of things, and if you read about it, you think to yourself, oh my God, thank God I don't have that. You know, dancing helps me with that, because it gives me a reason to get out of bed, because I've been in bed for 3 months, 4 months at a time, where you just get up and barely can shower yourself or wash your hair. I've had to cut my hair off because I couldn't take care of it after a while.
I started dancing when I was 2, tap, jazz, ballet, and then when I was in 5th grade, I started competition dance at a studio and did that, all kinds of styles, until my sophomore year of high school, when I went to Main Street School of Performing Arts and studied dance there. Graduated from there. It's called PIM now, Performing Institute of Minnesota. And now I am a dance major at the U of M and a freelance dancer here in the Twin Cities. I have a chronic illness called postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. We call it POTS for short. And I don't even know how to explain it. Basically, like, you don't have as much blood in your body, so when you make postural shifts, your body kind of freaks out and your heart rate increases really fast, and then it also comes with a lot of other symptoms, so there's increased heart rate. The thing that POTS is kind of most known for is fainting upon standing, which happened to me a lot when I was younger. I would faint and then convulse on the floor. I thought that was normal. Other ones are chronic fatigue syndrome and brain fog, cognitive dysfunction, so you're kind of ditzy, pain. There's lots of great things that come with POTS.
I feel like I have part of a whole gamut here. So I started out having chronic fatigue syndrome, which is also called myalgic encephalitis. And it feels like if you've had the flu and it just never leaves. The second thing I ended up discovering was I have fibromyalgia. It is what's considered another invisible illness. Oftentimes you'll find that people with fibromyalgia have all sorts of regionalized pain that seems to have no origin, and there's also no cure. I also have a series of autoimmune diseases that I'm not sure will ever have a diagnosis, but that's made me very sensitive to generally adapting to any changes that life throws at me. So I started pole dancing about 2.5 years ago, and I stepped into the pole studio with no dance background and just generally wanted to try something new. There's just so much to love about it, and I don't have room to think about anything else when I'm on there. I love that before you even do anything on a pole, you're surrounded by what often is a room filled with people who will support you no matter what your background is. There's also that aspect of discovering something new about your body, and a lot of those truths can be pleasant or quite jarring. But at the end of the day, that truth has value and it has knowledge, and what I choose to do with it is what I demonstrate while I'm on the pole.
I love that dance is my endless challenge. I think, there's always this love-hate relationship with it. I think there's so much beauty within the art form, the movement, everything about it, but I think what hits me the most is that it's an endless challenge for me.
I love like the motion of it. Maybe I'm a bit of a masochist, but something about like crazy athletics, like getting thrown across the stage and somersaulting out of it. It's just like a good feeling.
I love to dance at powwows. It's mostly powwows outside, or being outside. It makes me feel so free because I love being outside also. I like to be with nature.
My dancing is very much affected by my chronic illness. It takes me an extra 5 hours to warm up. Getting up in the morning. Our routine as a professional dancer was 9:30 class till 11, and then we would rehearse till 5. And I think it would take me till 3 p.m. to feel good and like have the actual mobility and quality of movement that would be productive, in my opinion. And just the recovery process, because your sleep is affected, you're not recovering. Your body isn't healing itself as though it should in that rest period. So, I think it was greatly affected by my chronic illness. Plus, I'm crabby. No, I'm just kidding.
So for me, having POTS, you're kind of constantly dizzy. So a correction I've gotten my entire life is like use your head more, release your head. And I would struggle with that before I had my diagnosis because I was like, I feel like I am using my head. Like, I don't know why I'm not using my head. Well, it's because I get dizzy when I do that and lose my balance. So it's like little things like that. And then I'd also say brain fog. It's frustrating to see everyone else in a class picking up the choreography just fine, and you're like struggling so hard to remember the steps. And it really sucks in auditions too, because it's like, if you go home and sleep on it, you'll be fine the next day. But in the moment, your brain is just like, no, can't do this.
I think the hardest part about dancing with a chronic illness is actually looking around the room and seeing everybody else, your perception of them being just fine. And I have a lot of mornings, for example, where I look at somebody and I'm like, I wonder what they feel like. Do they just hurt from head to toe all the time like me? So I don't want to say it's a jealousy, but it's kind of like, it's hard to see everybody else, while you're working so hard to do what you need to do, and just maybe wishing that you weren't feeling that way.
Your life has changed. There's so many things there's so many obstacles that you don't realize there are in life with disabilities. And I've never been anyone to have someone open my car door for me, but now it's nice. It really is. I'm just so, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that. I can do it all. I was brought up that way. I'm Native American. I mean, I can go set a net, pull it up, clean all the fish, bring it home, cook it, clean the kitchen after, just do everything. We were taught to do everything, and then you get to a point where you have a disability and it's like, wow, I can't do this stuff anymore. But I noticed that with people that are aging also, they don't accept the fact that they can't do this stuff anymore, where I can't live like that because I hurt myself, and it makes my illness worse if I overdo it.
And it's genuinely not socially acceptable to perform pain beyond an artistic theater. Yet here we are on the day of this performance, and I'm in severe pain, and it's all over my face and my body. All the moves I am doing, and I'm adapting to them differently as they are coming up, because I'm unable to do them in a way that's ideal for my body. So my alignment was off. My faces and my gesticulations were all over the place. And surprisingly enough, I ended up scoring first for this performance that was also a competition. And it left me feeling really confused. And I was in a rough place because, did I place because I showed them that pain? And does pain sell? Should this matter?
I have given up on dance. After I graduated high school, I actually got in a bad car accident. And after the accident, some opportunities I had, I could not do because of my injuries. And after that, I gave up for the year. After about maybe 6-7 months of not dancing, I realized I was miserable. Not miserable, but I felt like something was missing, so I started dancing again. But I guess I didn't give up because of my illness. I gave up because of injuries and a concussion, although concussion, brain fog, really, what's the difference?
I have never thought about giving up. The reason is because I'm very stubborn and I have a crazy mad passion for dancing. I've never thought about giving up, so no, I haven't given up. I think after I had my first child, it became harder for me, and there was more of a realization that maybe my time has come to retire from performing. But in my head, I haven't given up, and I won't.
Fibromyalgia will make the strongest want to give up, okay? It really will. It will make the strongest people want to give up. And I just figure that those low points are just temporary, and eventually I'll be able to dance again. Okay, it's just temporary. It's not enough to have to take medication for, and it'll go away. I have an uncle who's a medicine man. He gave me hope by telling me it'll get better. And just by knowing that maybe tomorrow won't be as good, maybe the next day, but maybe a week from now, I'll feel better and I'll be able to dance. As you get older, and you have more limitations, you just learn how to dance within your limitations. But I can't imagine giving it up.
I have wanted to give up on a routine or on pole entirely at least once. I remember I wanted to give up pole when I first found out I had fibromyalgia.
I think it happens like when you're diagnosed. Where in your life? I was 13.
Yeah.
So I've been living this way, you know, for a long time.
I was scouring the internet. Of course, I was going through WebMD. I was also going through all the scholarly journals, and I just couldn't find a lot that said that people with chronic illnesses should move for their health. They should challenge themselves. They should take on more than what an able-bodied society might think they can, and it might be good for them. I didn't have all of those. I didn't have that community because it was such a late onset to me. I just started pole dancing, so I wasn't well connected to a lot of the people who might have some experience or connections or answers.
Well, people that they just should spend more time maybe doing a little research regarding their friends and loved ones who have these illnesses, so they can understand how much harder we have to work in order to accomplish what we need to get to where we want to be, where we're satisfied with ourselves. And I think we're really hard on ourselves.
I do feel that my illness makes me a worse dancer. In fact, I have been down on myself like a lot, particularly when I was much younger in my career. Because again, you know, I always felt like I was being held back, like I could be so much better if I didn't hurt so bad. Or my leg would be so much higher if my joints didn't feel like they were gonna break. I wouldn't say that that was actually true. I think that was just in my head because it was frustrating to me. I think that my illness has made me a better teacher, however. I'm far more accepting and understanding when I have a student that, you know, is dealing with an ailment or an issue of themselves. It's actually very interesting to me to hear other people's stories for that reason.
I am dizzy 90% of the time, so I don't have as good of balance sometimes. I get kind of disoriented easier. Also, my brain fog can get pretty bad, so sometimes I can't pick up on choreography as fast as other people. That being said, you give me a night to sleep on it, it's always fine. But like when it comes to class-taking culture, I might not be able to pick up the choreography as fast. So in that sense, I feel like it does make me a worse dancer. However, I feel like dance is about sharing experiences, and I feel like having an illness isn't necessarily common among dancers. So I feel like in that way it gives me a unique perspective.
I try not to let it affect my dancing because dancing takes me out of that slump you're in when you're down, depressed, hurting, sore. Turn on some music and just let it take you where it's gonna take you. And some days, you know, it's hard, but if I start slow and warm myself up, it actually starts taking the pain away because I'm not thinking and dwelling about the pain. I'm in a different state of mind, I would call it, when I'm dancing.
Particularly when I'm on a flaring day, I might not be able to do anything really safely. So I think I'll always be a great performer. I'm not sure what people consider good dancing, but it's always going to be a wash.
People do not want to hear that you're not feeling good. They don't want to know that you can't do something. And it gets to the point where it's like, could you do this for me? Can you do that? Can you do this? Can you do that? And it's like, what's wrong with you? Why can't you just do it yourself? And it's like, because I have a disability.
Elaine Scarry wrote a book about pain, and she once said that if you express that you have pain, people will doubt you. And I think that's how it goes sometimes. And my reaction to that is not refuting them and saying, but I am sick. It's just saying, maybe you should check your assumptions.
I definitely feel like there's stigma around those who are chronically ill. I feel like our society in general is very ableist, but then there's kind of this weird thing with people who have invisible illnesses where since you don't look like you have a chronic illness, when you tell people about it, they just don't believe you. That's kind of like their first reaction.
He reminds me that, I don't look disabled, and it's like, well then, I'm pulling it off, aren't I? Or, yes, I know that, but it's a hidden disability, and people have them. A lot of people have them, and they're good at hiding them. It's like they become really good at hiding their disabilities because they don't want anybody to feel sorry for them, I suppose, or to think they're any less of a person because of the disability, when in fact they really aren't. They're probably more gifted at other things like Texas Hold'em.
If this illness were all in my head, then I don't think that, I would just get rid of that thought.
It took me a long time to get a diagnosis for POTS because people thought it was all in my head. Not just every day-to-day people, but medical professionals as well. It was always, you're just super depressed.
I've gone to doctors and they want to put you on antidepressants.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they thought I was just really depressed too, back when I was a teenager. Oh, you just need to be on Paxil, or something.
And fibromyalgia can be depressing, but dance can take that all away. If you're happy, if it makes you happy. It makes me really happy to dance.
People would be like, oh, it's not a big deal, this or that, you're just a hypochondriac. Well, no, I wasn't. I was living with a chronic illness for 7 years without a diagnosis, actually.
So my response to that being all in my head is, try living in my skin a day then.
They need to walk a mile in someone else's moccasins. I don't like to talk about my illness a lot anymore because I just give people gentle reminders that I have it. If they are expecting too much from me at the time and I can't, why can't you just do this? And it's like, because I have a disability. It's invisible and I hide it good, but that's why.
I have never disclosed my fibromyalgia to anybody that I've worked for or worked with, unless they're a great friend of mine and, they happen to know that. But I feel like I've never really let it affect my dancing or my career, so they don't really need to know about it,
I do not disclose my chronic illness to any employers. A lot of my peers know about it. A lot of my dance professors know about it. It does make me nervous that some of those professors of mine who have dance companies might not want to hire me. I don't know if that's realistic or not, but it does make me nervous. I don't disclose it to employers because I don't want them to think it makes me a liability. I don't want them to not hire me because of it. And again, I feel like in some senses the dance community is trying to move past kind of some of those more ableist ideas, but at the end of the day, I do think it's still there a little bit, so I err on the side of caution.
I'm so open about who I am. I'm the first person to tell you that I am chronically ill.
But I think that's why, because I've never been one to speak up about it. I've always hid it for fear, maybe, that I'd lose my job. No, not really, but I am proud of myself and my career. I do wish that it could be longer, but that's why I never say I'm done, because you just never know.
I'm so, so proud of myself. I think I grew up in a place where it's not considered socially acceptable to be proud of yourself. But when you're a dancer, you learn really quick that the way to success and the way to feeling good about yourself while you're moving around in space, to feel good about connecting with other people, is you have to be proud of yourself.
I don't like bragging about myself. Like I said, I was taught that that's not, don't go around bragging about yourself. So, but I feel proud of myself, not so proud that I'm an egomaniac. I mean, I came from a terrible, terrible childhood, okay? I don't even like to talk about it. I came from nothing, okay? From just foster homes and just terrible, terrible childhood. And I worked my way out of that. And I've succeeded way beyond what I thought I would.
I think I overcome the adversity of having a chronic illness by almost ignoring it. For me, it's kind of like the pain is there, but the passion is stronger. You just do.
How do I do what I do? You just do. You have no choice. You just do. You just have to do it.
In some regards, you have a choice, right? You don't have to go on the dance floor. And in other regards, you don't have a choice. You just kind of have to love who you are.
It's a way to heal. And even if you just dance for half the song or dance a little bit, no matter how much you dance, dance is a healer. It's healing. It heals you mentally. It heals you physically. You can escape all the world's problems by dancing.
If I could tell the world one thing about professional dancers with chronic illnesses, I think I'd want them to know that it doesn't matter, right? Like, those dancers could be the best ones that you've ever seen. And I think sometimes, even though your mobility might be decreased or altered, that doesn't really change you as a performer and what you have to tell the world.
I would want people to know that we're here and we aren't leaving, and that you should really listen and watch your stories because they might just be something you would enjoy.
Dancers with chronic illnesses are here. We're here to stay, and that we can do whatever we want to. That's not true, but you know.
So before I was a pole dancer, I wanted to be a scientist. I wanted to be all the things. I still want to. And I know I can be all the things because chronic illness doesn't dictate my life. It just gives me my terms or conditions.